Dave from Bullpen Cycles, and as you know, I've been working on this Veen. Ooh, there goes a cop with the lights on. I've been working on this. Something's going on. Try again. Hey, it's Dave from Bullpen Cycles, and as you know, I've been working on this Veen for about a year and a half. So let's check out the progress that we made. First off, this Veen has 8,853 miles. I'm very happy at how it turned out. That one has 300 miles. I used this one as a pattern to make sure I got everything right here. So let's go over it. First off, this is shaft drive, twin rotor, water-cooled engine, and I oiled it by hand and turned it over by hand. I wanted to make sure everything rolled freely. The trick to testing compression on one of these bikes is you need something like this. This is a Wankel specific compression tester. And the reason you need one of these, because the rotor has 3 peaks. As it turns, you hit highest compression 3 times every revolution. If you use a regular compression tester, you only get the compression of the highest peak. This way, with that tool, it graphs each peak. Now on this bike, there are 2 rotors, so you have 6 peaks. What you're going to look for is that all the peaks are even and they have ample compression, and that's what we had. So after turning it over by hand, I was able to turn it over with the starter, applying electric, and that's how I got the compression reading. A couple of other things. In here is the alternator. It's just like the setup on BMW and Moto Guzzi. You need a special tool. This is all it is to pull it. I had to repair some nicked wires in there. And when I got it, the clutch cover was open. I had to put that back together. That takes a special tool. And I had that tool. This is to compress the diaphragm so you can take out the clutch. I had that tool made from a blueprint. If you look closely, there's some RTV in here. They had the drive shaft off. I am guessing, after consultation with some folks in the Netherlands, I'm guessing they had the clutch slave cylinder, the seal replaced, because they go bad. It's in an aluminum housing and you have to pull the drive shaft to do that. The switches are Yamaha. I had to have some linkage made. Again, I had the correct part. I could look at that bike and I had the blueprint. The blueprint shows a push-pull cable heading up into the linkage. I made that linkage, but as that bike, it only has one cable, and that's how I set it up. The hoses the hoses for the radiator. Up in here, it's some type of 3-piece deal. I'm told they are the same as water-cooled Volkswagen. Now, in 76 and 77, that would have been either Rabbit or Vanagon. So if they didn't mold their own hoses, you could probably figure out what they trimmed from a Volkswagen. The brakes, I was very happy with the brakes. Brake, clutch, this weird rear brake unit that runs on a lever from the other side. They all take the same 15mm Brembo seal. And all the brake components, I shipped them to the Brembo distributor. I think it was Bevel Heaven, and they rebuilt them to spec. These are the original calipers. You can see they have 2 bleed screws. The later version only has 1. They are correct. What else? I have the key to the seat, the key to the fork lock, and the ignition key. Oh, this is the crankcase oil, and there's an oil line, I have it tagged, that runs up to the fuel line. It actually takes oil from the crankcase, the same oil that's used to lubricate the bearings in the motor, and feeds a portion of it to blend it in with the fuel to oil the seals in the rotor. Now the seals, let me show you this rotor again. The seals are not seals like we would know. The little metal tabs that come here, they're like rings. They seal the rotor to the chamber wall. That's what we're calling seals. So it uses premix, well, injected oil to lubricate the seals. I have that line plugged because if I were going to run this bike, I'd test it first on premix and make sure I had the correct volume of injected oil. Did not fill the brakes, did not fill the clutch. Once you put brake fluid in there, it goes bad and you'll have to send it out again. This bike is, I did everything I could to verify its integrity. I oiled it by hand. I checked the compression. I turned everything over. It shifts in gears. But right now, all the fluids are drained. Once you put fluid in it and fire it up, then you got to go through all that cleaning again to preserve it. My first rule is do no harm and then preserve and protect. And that's what we're doing here. I don't feel the need to ride this bike. Think of it. It's 45 years old. It's expensive. It's got unobtainium. This half of the motor was made by NSU and Citroën. Same as in an RO80 or a Citroën birotor. But I'm told that this version over the RO80 had better rotor seals. But they are the same dimensions, so you can use both. This primary drive setup and that shaft, I'm told that was designed by Porsche. They made 38 of these bikes, the original factory. That's all there are. There were a couple hand-built ones over the years after that, made from leftover or reproduction parts. So there's a handful of other ones that might be floating around, but those aren't from the original company. Comparing it cosmetically, There are some blemishes here, some little goofiness in the seat, but as I look to the other one, this one has 300 miles and is virtually in the same condition. This one I haven't cleaned up yet, but everything about it is identical. Takes a separate oil here, another one here, the crankcase oil, the coolant, the overflow on this, the tab is broke off. It's a little nipple. I didn't fix that. You could braze a new tab on it so you could attach the overflow. I didn't do that because I didn't add water. I'm not pressure testing it. If you really had to go for a ride, there's a little bit more reconditioning you want to do. This is as far as I think I'm going to take it for now. Oh, I want to show you what it looks like under the seat. All nice and tidy. The gas tank, there is a patch on the bottom. It doesn't leak. You can't see the patch. Under the tank, there's an aftermarket fuel pump. It's just an inline electric pump. It's different than what's on that one. It's a very common pump, but it's not the original pump. And the air box has a tin patch on it, I guess to make it seal better. The air intake is tight fitting, but none of that you can see. That's about the only difference between this spike and the one with 8,000 miles. Here we have some literature. Lots of tech information. I have some blueprints. Some of it's in German. I think this is an owner's manual. Hand typed. And then they translated it. I'll copy what I can. Now, is there anything else? Did I forget anything? Well, I don't think so.